Okay, so welcome everyone to our ACCCTEP speaker series for this semester. It is our second one. This one is on developing effective TK-12 community college pathways. My name is Steve Batista. I am a counselor and program coordinator for the Center for Teacher Education at Santa Ana College in Southern California, Orange County. And I'm also the president of ACCCTEP, and I am joined by my colleagues who will introduce themselves shortly, who will be sharing a bit about their pathways, and hopefully this is a time of learning and engagement and questioning and asking and learning. For the first part of it, in the second half, we really want to connect with the folks who are here to begin talking about our programs and particularly the successes and challenges that we are experiencing in developed pathways for our students. Some of us have been in this work for a long time, some of us have worked for not so long, and some maybe medium. So we really want to kind of get a sense of where everybody are at. And so, yeah, so why don't we start with, I'll start with the welcome and overview, and someone mentioned, just message me for folks, yeah, introduce themselves, put your name and your institution to the chat, that would be great. So we have a record of who is here, because I don't think we'll have time to go through the list here. We want to move into the program as well. And I am having internet issues, so if I do freeze, somebody just jump in for me and keep going. So thank you for being here. So next slide, and we'll introduce our panel. Megan, you want to start?
Hi, everyone. It's nice to be here and have the opportunity to connect with everyone. My name is Megan Kaplinski, and I get to teach education and reading classes at Long Beach City College and coordinate our teacher education program. And I also serve as ACCCTEP secretary.
Thank you, Megan. Shannon?
Hello, Shannon Turman. I'm our Education and Guidance Studies instructor at West Hills College, Lemoore. So I'm full-time in both positions with a split load, I guess you could say. And I also run our teacher prep program as the coordinator. So I'm excited to share with you all today about our program. Thank you.
Thank you. Candida.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Candida Tapia. I am at Berkeley City College as faculty and coordinator of the Education Teacher Preparation Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Joya.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joya Shavrin. I'm the interim dean of STEM and career education and former Education Teacher Preparation Program coordinator and faculty. So good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Go back to the next slide, previous slide, please. Like now, maybe talk a little bit more about the agenda and kind of our timeline. So we want to spend the first maybe 40 minutes or so having each of these colleges talk about their pathways, bring us together for questions and answers about questions and comments about their programs and the work that they're doing, the unique work they're doing at their programs, and get some responses. And then what we're going to ask everyone to do is choose a breakout room. And they're not going to be traditional breakout rooms as we would break out this Zoom. They're actually going to be separate Zooms because we want to record them, record the discussions and kind of record what's will be happening, and as well as doing some notes. And so there'll be 4 options for you to choose from at that point in time during the program. One will be a breakout on elementary education pathways, one will be on special education pathways, one will be on dual enrollment pathways, and then the other one will be on secondary education pathways. So 4 different breakouts that we'll spend some time in discussing challenges and victories that we've been able to do over our programs, and then we'll return back for a discussion. And my goal with this and our goal with ACCCTEP is to try to at least begin to come together on some of the challenges and successes, and maybe begin seeing where we need to begin working at the policy level to help us create better pathways for our students. So that's kind of the intent of the day, is to learn, to engage, but then also for us to be able to then have some really good discussions about where are areas that we need to lean into and to who. To really help improve our pathways for our students. So that's kind of our agenda for the day. So let's move into the presentations. And I think the first person up is, I think we go 2 slides, is Megan.
All right, so hi everyone. I get to present about Long Beach City College's program to kind of showcase an example of the elementary education pathway. And so our story at Long Beach City College is one of the newer programs, not around for decades, but around for maybe 5 years, not as much as a solid program, because I'll be sharing how we really got started. So we began with the development of the CID course, our classic 45-hour fieldwork course, and we knew we wanted to recruit students and include their voice. So we right away established a Future Teachers Club. And this was really the start of us getting on the map at our campus and in our community. We were lucky enough to get an incubator grant award from the Chancellor's office with the Education Futures Grant, and also some regional strong workforce funding. So we get to be part of the Teach Los Angeles Regional Collaborative. We were part of Ed Futures and are continuing with CCC TPP. So having this wonderful network of colleagues to provide technical assistance was fantastic for us. And it allowed us to establish, a presence on campus and in our community. So we started with an ad hoc kind of work group. We all met together to establish the scheduling of the courses we developed for our teaching degree.
No, Kitty, no.
Oh, there's some sounds coming through. I'm not sure if anyone could mute. And we really got through an opportunity through the Governor's Innovation Award to work really closely with our K-12 partner, Long Beach Unified, and our Cal State Long Beach partners. So in these kind of efforts that were all happening about the same time, we were able to develop the establishment of a pipeline in our city. We didn't and still don't have much dual enrollment in our teacher prep program yet. And that's one of our needs, because a challenge we've faced is that we needed to develop future teacher clubs at our high schools, since our high school programs are already very full with other pathways and programming that don't allow them to offer education classes. But that's changing, because as we continue to work together through our Cal State on a digital mapper of our pipeline and other partnerships with other local districts, we've been growing. And it's establishing the idea that, we really need to make this established deeper in our high schools to catch students earlier. So we can go to the next slide. One thing that really sustained us was our students. So like I said, establishing high school future teachers clubs and our own helped us when we only had the one education class and we're developing our AAT in elementary teacher ed. So our club was really the face that everyone would see. You see our club shirt with the big apple on it, and you might be able to tell, maybe not in these pictures so clearly, that we had a shirt made with our high school and our Cal State too. It was the Long Beach, pipeline shirt. And so it was made with a custom logo, and it really was such a wonderful thing. Students really seemed to feel like they belonged when you toss them that shirt. I can't explain the magic of it, but it really got people to recognize us and to feel united. So you see pictures here of our club meeting on campus, our club hosting a science night booth where we would invite the community children that came to Long Beach City College's already established science night. And there was something for the younger children to do and for our students to engage with in the community and get seen. You see students in our classes, you see students at our campus visit with the high schoolers too. So that's really how we started. And this is still something, that motivates us, is having this kind of energy from students that goes beyond the traditional class and extends into student life. Next slide. So once we officially had our AAT on the books, and there were some challenges because we had to have different departments in this interdisciplinary degree, like everyone else that has it, develop new courses and then get them approved. But once we had that, our college saw us as an official program. So we got to rebrand. You can see we're now the reading department turned reading teacher preparation department. We redesigned our website. And because there's not a lot of space on our campus for an office, we used pandemic kind of thinking to imagine a Canvas office. So we have created a student community hub. And that's our place where students can stay connected with us in a virtual location even if we're not there together. And I'm happy to show that to anyone who's interested, because I think we've made it really great where a lot of teachers on the AAT degree in those core ed classes can do updates. We have our career center sharing with us so we can post about job openings and internships that we're developing. And it's really a great spot to talk about scheduling and advertise new classes. We even got to use a Teach LA example from Rio Hondo. Thank you to Leah for sharing this at our Teach LA group, because we got to start a mentoring program to recruit students, because we started to realize our program is really the AAT elementary pathway. How do we capture secondary students, which will be addressed later today? And so one thing we started, thanks to the model program showcased from Rio Hondo, was the faculty assistant mentoring program we developed, kind of in honor of their CTE mentoring program. And it allowed us to do recruitment to students that are underrepresented and in the CTE and STEM fields, and they could job shadow a faculty. Our funding's gone for that, but we hope to bring it back in another form. We also have our advisory committee now, and we have created our education courses and reworked them, or for new courses that are coming soon that I'll share. We made the top code a CTE top code, and that required the development of an advisory committee, which is fantastic. We're now working with them on what internships and apprenticeships could we create? What classes do we need in addition, like perhaps a CBEST certificate, pending whatever happens with our legislation this summer for the CBEST exam. Next slide. So what does our elementary pathway look like? Well, we are so excited because we've created some new certificates, which I'll share in a moment. But on those certificates, we've included additional classes other than the CID 45-hour fieldwork course. We also have Education 10, a 10-hour fieldwork course, especially for our Cal State Long Beach transfers with our Long Beach partnership. But the new classes are an ed tech class and an intro to secondary elective. Our hope is that our elementary pathway can expand and offer that early field work that's so important for our secondary students. And now we'll be able to offer students a placement at the high school level. We're also very proud that this summer we should complete OER for all of these education classes. And we hope to expand our pathway, like Shannon will share soon, for her fantastic pathway that's ZTC. And on the last slide I'm sharing, I'll talk about our new certificates. So we realized that a lot of our students in our sister department of child development, they earn certificates aligned with the permits. But we also wanted to have something for our education students as sort of milestones along their AAT pathway that can be recognized by our advisory partners for their progress, and also capture students not on our degree pathway, because we know there's many entry points into elementary and other teaching paths. So our first certificate includes 2 out of our 4 education classes, a comm class and a child and adolescent development class. And those are all required on our degree or suggested by our most common CSU partner. Our second level of this stackable certificate would be adding on additional choices that come from that AAT path, hoping that students not on our major can earn both, and those that are on our major can earn these degrees en route. So with our advisory committee's guidance, we will think of how to further develop our program. But that's where we're at Long Beach City College. We feel that starting in fall with our new certificates, we're going to have a very robust education pathway. Thank you for letting me share. Our next college that's sharing is West Hills. So Shannon is up.
Thank you. That's exciting, Megan. I'm so excited for all that you guys have accomplished in that amount of time. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So I came in 2013, and we had already been well on our way with our education program. Currently, our Vice President of Educational Services was the education instructor at the time when he started. So he started to build this program. We started with some funding in 2000 where we worked on teacher reading and development programs. And we had a few grants that were kind of small that began the process of creating education curriculum. 2003, we were able to institutionalize the education instructor position. that has still been considered full-time, but the load has never been full-time. We're a really small college, so our courses are not completely there to cover us as a full-time instructor. So before I came on, James was running that program, and he had a split load between education and English. So we've never had someone that just runs the education program. Team Teach became institutionalized through the CTE TPP funding that we worked on, and we developed a wide variety of wraparound services within our program over that decade. Some of the key components that were included were a dedicated counselor that established 2-year pathway, partnerships with our local school districts. So we work very closely with 5 or 6 of our high schools. And then we worked on that pathway with our universities that we feed into. So working with Fresno State, Fresno Pacific, mostly, and then creating opportunities for students for job placement was another big piece. So we really focused in on making sure that our students had the opportunity for the work experience options through after school programs. Initially in that decade, we were running our after school program through an Upward Bound grant on our campus. So we did all of the hiring and all the placing at 7 elementary schools in our district. So we were placing those students, our students, in those classrooms and after school programs. And we've had a few shifts over the last year, and I'll talk about that as we go through. And then from 2016 to 2021, where we're at now, we're continuing our work with the CCC TPP work. We are active members in ACCCTEP and supporting the work that they do, and then supporting the EDUC COP work this last year. A lot of the regional work, statewide work that's going on, we want to continue to support. Through that process, we've had a wide variety of options, like I mentioned earlier, our wraparound services. So we have high school and college transitions. We do 2+2 articulation and dual enrollment agreements with 3 of our high schools currently for child development, psychology 1, and education 1. So we're working on the same transfer. I work very closely with those instructors at the high school. We meet once a year through our advisory board to make sure that we're continuing the same level of rigor, and as things are updating and changing on our college, I'm giving those updates to those instructors, the teachers at the high school level as well. So we're working very closely to continue that pathway, again with our designated counselor, and then the degree preparation, and plenty of work-based learning opportunities. We are very blessed to have a full-time work experience instructor. So she focuses specifically with us on those connections. Within that process, there's a wide variety of activities that we do, and I'll talk about that with our Team Teach program. So we have our elementary teacher AA transfer degree. Those are the courses our students complete in their 4 semesters. All of the courses listed here are 0 textbook cost. Our education degree is a 0 textbook cost degree. We're not just looking at courses anymore on our campus. We are currently working on 4 different degree completions on our campus that are all ZTC. So that was a bit of a challenge in the beginning, but getting everyone on board and working with all of the faculty for our education students in the last 1.5 years has been phenomenal. So we're really seeing a big difference there. Lots of support throughout within our connections. We work very closely at services and student services. I could tell you probably every person that works in student services, because we are a small college. So the wraparound services happen pretty quickly on our campus. Plenty of work-based learning opportunities. Our students can go into the WIN Center and apply for local jobs as paraprofessionals and after-school programs. Then we have technicians there to support them with completing their resumes and any development that they need right there on the spot. We also hire most of our ed students as our SIs on our campus. So they're getting experience basically as an instructor in the classroom, as supplemental instructors. So they're supporting the math, English, and science instructors on our campus, and then running small sessions throughout the week for tutoring and support. We also hire our education students to run as mentors for our, what we call our 5 C's program. So we train them over the school year, and then they're hired to be a mentor for middle school students for 2 weeks in the summer. So we run an entire program where we bring middle school students to our campus so they know that college can be in their future. In our rural community areas, it's really important. And we work very closely with a wide variety of programs in the elementary school programs to make sure that we're bringing students that may not have ever had any exposure to college at that time to be able to have that opportunity. Lots of partnerships with after school programs. Like I said, we transitioned in the last year. So our actual main feeder in our district is now run through Teaching Fellows, and they are an amazing organization and doing wonderful things and promoting so much more professional development for our students than we could do in our small grant that we had. So our students are being hired through Teaching Fellows. They come in and speak at My Team Teach huddles. The Ready program is another program for a larger district in our area. And we work with them very closely. They come in and speak to my ed students directly during the semester. So I guess that those have been some of the positives to living on Zoom. We have those opportunities. Just a quick breakdown of our courses and what that looks like. So in the last year, we ran a textbook checkout program through our Team Teach program. And in 10 years, we saved our students about $10,000. And we were super proud of that. But then the 1920 school year, we saved our students $1.5 million in textbook costs alone because of the work of our ZTC degrees. So it's made a huge difference, and we are so thankful that we've been given the opportunity through our district to be able to develop and create and have that opportunity for professional development through that development. There's some of our students. My Team Teach program, this is the heartbeat of our education degree. So we meet with our students once a month. On campus, we were meeting once a month, and I will get back to that in the fall. I've already been approved to do that. We feed them free food every month, so we get a lot of students coming in, and we have that huddle directly after my Intro to Ed course. It's prepared so that students just follow me. Right when class ends, we walk right over to the conference center and have our meeting for the month. There's Tiffany right here. She's my counselor, so she's there at every meeting, supporting, sharing, giving our students updates. We do a wide variety of activities every month. I have high school students in those education courses. They Zoom in with us now and participate at the high school level. We have a wide variety of community partners that support. So I have alumni students come back and share about now that they're in the classroom and teaching. I have a wide variety of administrators in the K-12 setting. Our university partners come and speak every semester to our students. And then we do a big Teach conference once a year. And again, for our little college, we still have about 150 participants at that conference alone. It's a one-day conference, which is a pretty big deal for us. So we do a wide variety of things. I have a blog on my website, so I update that regularly for students to get updates through our Team Teach website on our West Hills page, as well as my Instagram page. I post there every day. Anytime I hear about a job opportunity, it goes right on our Instagram page for students to start applying. So we run a wide variety of ways to keep them up to date on what's going on. A couple of other important components that we have, in the spring, we take a field trip. We go see all of our universities. And then after we visit those universities, we come back and have a final huddle to discuss and talk about the programs, talk about the campuses, because we're so small. It's a shock for our students to see a larger university. We have our middle school and high school students that visit often. I work with a few of our elementary schools to have students come to campus. We give them a tour of our college. Our mascot comes out and hangs out with the students. They have lunch on our campus, like college students. They love that. And then my ed students in my critical thinking course teach a hands-on lesson to small groups. So I pair them up in threes and they teach a group of 6 students. And they bring all their supplies and they complete a lesson. And in those groups, all of the chaperones and the teachers that come from the elementary setting and a couple of my administration team, we all work together to observe each lesson, and we fill out a form on them so that they can learn from that lesson plan, get ideas on how teaching really is. They do a reflection piece. It's an assignment for our critical thinking course. And then we get to do a team t-shirt design competition every year. So you'll see different t-shirts throughout the years on our campus. This t-shirt in the picture, Raina here on the end designed that. She won that year. And so that was the t-shirt that was made. Jasmine on this end here, she designed this t-shirt this year, and this is the one that won. So we'll be using those t-shirts in the fall. And our students earn a t-shirt by coming to 6 huddles. We have 5 in a semester, so that ensures that they come back the next semester to get their t-shirt. So they're really good about that. Here's a few shots of our students. Again, we love what we do. We had Chancellor Eloy on our campus to share our ZTC degree with him and show him the work that our students are doing. And now we've gone beyond instructors and faculty developing curriculum and content in OER. Our students are doing it. We've given them the power and the understanding on how to develop within OER and how they can go out and find their own resources and create. So it's been phenomenal to see what they're developing and creating. So the middle picture here is one of the days that the junior high or the elementary kids came out, and there's my students up front teaching a lesson to the students. So a wide variety of activities that we love on campus and are excited that we will get to continue to do in the fall. So thank you so much for letting me share, and I will pass it on.
Okay, good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Hold on, let me put on my video. Hi, my name is Candida Tapia. I'm at Berkeley City College. I am the education coordinator for the teacher preparation program and faculty. And I am joined with my colleague, my esteemed colleague and former education coordinator, Dr. Joya Chavrin, current dean of science, applied technology, business, math, and as career education. It's a super long title, but basically that just means she's a superwoman and she wears a cape like every day, even when she sleeps. And so I'm so happy to be co-presenting with her, and I'm so honored and inspired to be presenting here with you all today. I view this as an opportunity to learn from all of you, just as much as you may learn from me, but most likely it'll be the former rather than the latter. And so anyhow, as educators, I appreciate this opportunity. Our vision at Berkeley City College is to transform lives by creating communities of practice for students to be able to have opportunities that promote social justice, that promote equity and academic excellence and collaboration. What we have listed on this first slide are just a few of our degrees and certificates as well as courses. And I just want to highlight a couple of them. We have 2 certificates, one of a certificate of proficiency in school readiness, a certificate of achievement in as a teacher's aide, and then an elementary teacher education associate degree for transfer, and our newest AA degree, which is a liberal studies teacher preparation degree. I want to highlight just a few of our courses because I feel that that is important. We have our newest course is Education 18 Math Concepts for Teachers, which has been a barrier for students in the past in terms of achieving an AA degree and being able to transfer. And the beautiful thing about this course is that it counts for both. And so we're still working on collaborating with other disciplines and departments within our college to create additional courses that can fulfill other areas and other disciplines such as science as one, for example. But I also want to highlight that we have a new BCC Tutor Training Certificate. And this is a certificate that is from the International Tutor Training Program. And what's nice about it is that it allows students to, although it's a non-credit coursework, it allows students to take the certificate with them wherever in the nation and also internationally. And so I'm going to allow my colleague, Dr. Shavrin, to introduce herself, and she'll take it away from there.
Okay, we've introduced me twice. It's good to see you all today. And I just want to share that, thank you, Candida. And just with the high level, we won't go through all the courses. And if you wear glasses like me, this is probably hard to read, but it takes what Candida said and puts it in a visible format. And so we start off at the high school, and we'll talk about that more today. And we build into the students' choices. We want to address the teacher workforce crisis. So what a wonderful way to build our dual enrollment and ask high school students, do you enjoy working with children? Excuse me. I'm having a cough attack all of a sudden, I apologize. And so with that, I'm gonna give it off to Candida and get some water. One second.
No worries. Thank you, Joya. Take care of yourself. Yeah, so this is just an example of our 2+2 programming that we have. We start off with high school students and target high school students and partner with our local districts in our county, not just our city, to provide an interdisciplinary stackable set of classes that they can bring with them to the college. And not limit themselves to just education. However, we are mostly focused on, like Dr. Shavrin said, recruiting for the teacher shortage in our state and in our county, and recognizing that there is so much work to do. And so I'll go ahead and let her take the rest of the slides since she's back.
Yeah, you don't get to choose, you get to choose your response. So I apologize for that. Make sure you have water handy. And I just want to share with you that our focus is building the on-ramp, and we are a relatively new teacher preparation program. We started with the first class in 2014, and it was that CID 200 education class. And we've been able to grow the program in the sense of the data, the labor market data, and just understanding that we have an aging population of wonderful retirees. So the pipeline began with collaborating with our industry partner. At that time, it was a Head Start apprenticeship program that required all their teachers to have BAs. And as Candida said, we want to ensure that we're creating exceptional teachers, and there was an interest for more high schoolers to take dual enrollment classes. So Berkeley became part of a collaborative grant. It was the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship. And you could go to the next slide, Steve will hurry it up. But we received a grant. It was seven grantees. It was through our apprenticeship our intermediary ESAPs, and we were able to build on the work of also collaborating with the California Apprenticeship Initiative grant. So what we realize is that we require all these units, and this preparation is and on-the-job training, but apprenticeship ties it to wages. So through our employer partner, we were able to build a really wonderful, robust apprenticeship program at the youth level that led into the Head Start apprenticeship if they choose to. And even if they didn't choose to work with the younger children, those skills and what they experience can transform into viable careers. Teaching, not only elementary or middle school, but as well as, a dean, because I taught for a very long time in the younger years myself. So with that, we had a wonderful pilot in Oakland, California. This is a picture of our students. They were able to take our school readiness certificate of achievement, and a certificate of competency, I apologize. And it was interdisciplinary design to ensure if they didn't like teaching, at least their classes would count. And so they were able to take child, adolescent growth and development. And that was wonderful because they were adolescents and they were able to really bring their hands-on applicable experiences to life. So when you're talking about nature deficit and you're realizing you're having a whole wonderful group of adolescents on their phones, you take them out to nature and you really bring some of the theoretical concepts to life. Our instructors were reflective of the students that we were serving. It was really exciting to see them complete their first 6 units, which was child, adolescent growth and development and sociology of the family. And then they went on to take children's literature, then the introduction to education course. And along the way, they also got a chance to be placed in programs that our industry partner paid wages and stipends. And the seniors, we actually got them to come over to Berkeley City College and just continue the pathway of free courses and the wraparound support. So to become an apprenticeship program through this grant, the high school, of course, enables the students to meet their graduation requirements along with their early college credit, which Berkeley City College was the RSI provider for that. Our sector intermediary is the person that helped with all the database reporting out to the Department of Labor. And it is a pre-apprenticeship at the youth level, but it folds into an actual apprenticeship where if they continue on at the end, they'll complete the required number of hours as well as the coursework. And then the industry employer, we have a formalized partnership at that time with 2 local employers that provided the wages, which was incredible. So it was a public-public partnership. And some of the wraparound supports, next slide, that Cantita would share with you. Okay, so this goes into the interdisciplinary design that I kind of rushed through, excuse me. So it was 12 units. And again, it was definitely one of the on-ramps to hoping that they become a teacher. We need teachers in the field. And so in addition to offering the interdisciplinary, intentionally designed coursework, we also brought in teachers from all levels, whether it's teaching early childhood or elementary or middle school, but just the passion of, of teaching and what that looks like, and helping them recall their favorite teacher and helping them decide, maybe I don't want to teach, but at least they won't go off to college and go into a career with lots of loan debt. It gives them a chance to have some career experiences and reflect on what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy, along with a real hand-holding support. So it's part of our programming for our coursework to partner with our local industry partners in our high schools in that way. And even though that was back in 2019, we're continuing to offer the same 12-unit cycle of courses at more than just that one pilot high school that we were working with. We actually have 3 different high schools that offer the certificate of proficiency. And Candida Tapia, who you heard from just earlier, taught the class in a final today where they got to present on their child developmental profile, which was so powerful because they reflect on their own context and working experience in working with young children. Next slide. Thank you. Yeah, so Candida, kick it off with the support services. Again, this is what our college offers internally, but then I'll talk about a little bit of the public leveraging that we do with our partners that really ensure their success and completion and graduation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so thank you so much, Dr. Chavrin, for continuing to provide all the information and the background and history about our program. It's so helpful. I'm new to this position as the coordinator. I'm not new as a faculty member. I've been with the district for, oh God, how many years? Since 2007. But just to give you some information about what happens when our dual enrollment students, our 2+2 folks, come into the community college. We offer an array of support services, including the free tuition, laptops, Wi-Fi hotspots, the zero-cost textbooks, the student education plans with our dedicated counselors, the success coordination. We're currently working with another discipline within social sciences to share weekly support group for our students called the Success Incubator. And that is staffed by one of our HUSV's social health work social health workers that allow students to be able to have that time with their peers to get whatever it is that they need to have accomplished. We also have our embedded tutors, and more importantly, we have our stackable degrees. I'm not going to say more importantly, but equally as important, we have our stackable degrees, our transferable classes, the opportunity for our high school students to not only have the units when they come into college at no cost, but also the opportunities to earn and learn through our Earn and Learn Youth Apprenticeship program. And that is what is very attractive right now and what is trending, or I hate to call it sexy because I don't like to sexualize stuff like that, but it is what is the trend or the mode, the moda de fashion right now. The mode of fashion is, I guess, what we call it in Spanish, la moda. Anyhow, so I just want to say the more, one of the other advantages of taking these interdisciplinary stackable courses that we offer through BCC is that it actually leads to the state industry recognized certificate, which most of you may know as the Child Development Permit. And so it not only provides them with a certificate from our college, but it also provides them a certificate that actually leads to that on-ramp to the career. And then after that, our goal is to get them to the four-year college after once they come to us, and once we're able to provide them with the supports that they need to move forward. So next slide.
Yeah. So this is our graduation of our Head Start Apprenticeship program. That's how we started back when we received the SEIU Head Start California Apprenticeship Initiative funds. And again, the goal of that program is a BA. So it's very important to our faculty who basically are all part-time. We reflect the diversity of the students in the Education Teacher Prep program. And we designed it where if they wanted to go on to the liberal studies teaching preparation pathway at the CSU or human development, that they were able to have some on-the-job training experience so that they can qualify to get their credentials, hopefully a really good BA plus fast track credential, because as you know, with the TK changes, they're wanting you to have a multiple subjects teaching credential plus the teacher permit in 24 units. So it was important to design a program that would meet both and versus either or. And Berkeley City College doesn't offer all the courses necessary in that pipeline, but we have a wonderful relationship with a partnership college next to us, that if that is the students' expressed goals, we work collaboratively with them to get the goals. And what I want to show you here is that other wraparound support services to ensure their success in our Education Teacher Prep pipeline with our partners is childcare, and at the time before COVID, it was transportation, and it was whatever was the barrier. So the program is designed to remediate barriers and to ensure that they can on-ramp, enter, and exit out successfully within a good time frame. This was fast-track courses that we wanted to ensure that there was the mentoring component of those who graduated. So everyone you see in the Black robes were able to come back and provide support to those who were coming in. So with that, this is an afternoon presentation. I apologize, this is the last slide and with the cough attack, but I hope you can understand we're still a work in progress. And again, it was so inspiring to be on the panel with all of you, who gives Candida and I some other things to think about as we continue to build out our program with Teach and just all the internal supports we're working to build. A lot of our supports, because we are so small, are leveraging our public-public partnerships. We get funding from First Five, Department of Social Services, CalWorks, and other areas to support our students. So, in with that. And I don't,
Thank
that's
you.
it.
Amazing work. Amazing work. Thank you for that. Next slide, please, Shannon. Yeah, so I'm going to keep my video off. My internet is unstable, so I want to try to at least keep the audio going for everyone. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, okay, thank you. All right, so I've already shared about Santa Ana College's pathway, I think quite a bit in a couple of different sessions, but what I really wanted to share about was our journey to create a secondary education pathway. And this came out for a couple of different areas. One was over the past 20 years, as I've been working in this field and at Santa Ana College, we've always struggled to identify those students who want to become STEM majors or Spanish teachers or English teachers or history teachers. Because they don't typically funnel through a child development or even find our education courses. And so I've always struggled with that and tried to be more intentional about actually trying to go out to their classrooms so that we can find them and have faculty members who see these students and understand they want to become teachers, referring them to the Center for Teacher Education. But the problem really became real for me when I was finishing my, or I was doing my doctoral dissertation study. And I was beginning to interview students, and my study was looking at Latinx students who had began community college and had transferred to university on a teacher education pathway. I wanted to learn more about their community college experience. And so I interviewed over a half a dozen students from various community colleges, and inevitably some of them were from my own college. And I interviewed two young Latinx men who were on the pathway of becoming teachers that actually started at my college. And one of them began to explain to me that he had been at Santa Ana College for 4 or 5 years on a teacher pathway, and he did not know that Santa Ana College had a teacher preparation program. And he, as I was interviewing actually both these young men and asked them, but what would they wish for when they were at their community college that would have helped them, maybe complete faster. And they both mentioned how they wish they were connected to other future teachers and had support and wraparound services. And as you can imagine, he's saying these participants are sharing this. I'm melting in my seat, thinking, where did I go wrong with these students, and what can I do immediately to fix this problem? And then, who was your counselor? That was the other questions. Okay, who didn't know? So my immediate fix was I actually then created cards that I sent to and information stuff to all of our single subject English, math, entry level faculty members. And then the second thing that I did was I created a certificate for secondary education. And our secondary education pathway is built on 2 courses that we actually have available for future middle school and high school teachers. It's Ed 210 and Ed 204, and these have been in our pathway or been at our college for about over 10 years. And they exist because they are prerequisites to the credential program at Cal State Fullerton. And we had built the articulation agreement, we built the courses, we had our faculty trained by their faculty so that they mirrored each other. And they exist on our campus, but obviously the students were not getting the information that they needed in order to find them. And so I used these 2 courses and I created a certificate. So next slide, please, Shannon. So we created a certificate in secondary education pre-professional. And so we wrote the certificate in the spring of 20 and introduced it into the fall of 20, and it'll be available fall of 21. And what I did is I selected, obviously, those 2 courses, the Ed 210 and the Ed 204, the technology course, and I surrounded it with some other courses like the Intro to Education course, or our exploration course, which is Education 105. And then we also have a couple of 1-unit counseling classes, or a counseling class, a 1-unit counseling class that's an exploration course. Because the 210 in our pathway is the prerequisite to credential program, it actually articulates to an upper division course at Cal State Fullerton. And so we kept at the 200 level, and we wanted an intro level course also to be a part of the pathway. So the students come in, they do the intro 105 to make sure it's the secondary pathway or the counseling 114 to figure out, do I want, multiple subjects, single subject, or special ed? And if they truly want secondary, then they would do 210 and 204. And then we add the course on special needs. And then I added English 101 to make it I think it's a 17-unit certificate if I do the units correctly. And then they also have to have 1 content course in a single subject area like math or biology or chemistry or English or Spanish, something like that, that really identifies them as a single subject teacher. And so it's also CTE top coded so that our college will get credit for it under strong workforce. And it also includes a pathway for students who want to become a welding teacher. So we have a welding program on our campus and an auto program on our campus. So those students who are in those programs, if they're preparing to become teachers, will also get the opportunity to do this. So we've just now begun publicizing it. We haven't had any graduates yet. It starts in the fall of 21, but we are promoting it. And it's really built around the conundrum that we don't have good articulated pathways for secondary education that exists at our college. And even this pathway only works truly for students who want to go to Cal State Fullerton, because that 210 course doesn't work for Long Beach, doesn't work for UCI, doesn't work for Cal Poly Pomona or Dominguez Hills, the other places where my students go, and the 204 courses. So it's kind of built on articulation, but not a strong agreement that we know is going to get students to every place they want to go. So okay, so I will pull up there, and I think that we're ready for, I think, questions in our time for discussion. And so love to be able to hear from folks who may have an interest in asking our participants about their programs or our speakers about their programs. So yeah, if you want to raise your hand, put it into the chat. I think we did see one in the chat already from Bridget. Bridget, you had a question related to, I think it was it whose program was it?
The funding for mentoring. It looks like it was there was a mentoring program.
That was me, yes.
Yeah.
So we have a really strong grants department, Bridget, and every year we see what's out there and then we write a grant to pay for those. We just
Okay.
got another one 2 weeks ago. It takes a lot of effort, but we tend to get them. They're only like $40,000 grants, so they're pretty easy to get. There's a huge push right now for mental health. So we ran with Healthy Minds, Healthy Bodies. And so we're going to focus all on that mental health component and train our mentors under that realm. And then our focus for our summer program will be all on mental health. So it just depends on what funding is out there. And then we use those ideas to go, okay, how can we create something to train mentors in this process?
And when you say mentors, Shannon, are you talking about mentors like the teacher, the professor mentoring their students, or your students mentoring younger students?
It's a mixture of both. So during our program in the summer, it is a variety of some of our instructors, some of our K-12 teachers that have a teaching credential, and then the mentors are mostly our education students that we've spent training that time.
Okay, perfect.
Some of them come back, so they might not get trained in the year. We might hire alumni that are at university.
Right. Okay, thank you so much, Shannon. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I think Doug, you had your hand up, and then Leah, and then there's a question in the chat from Marie.
Okay, thank you. My question is from Megan. Megan, Steve acknowledged, and we all acknowledge that you accomplished a lot in 5 years. My question is, when you first started, I want you to think back to where you just first started this whole effort. How did you find out about all of these different grants and funding sources? What process did you use?
Well, thank you for the question. I think that one of the ways I found out was because a partner at Cerritos College invited me in to attend and kind of observe their STEM CTE grant program. And that happened because my department head at the time was researching how do you start a program, found, Cerritos's model wonderful program, and said, Megan, follow up with them when I was hired. And so they had already kind of researched a local program in the LA region. And, that's before ACCCTEP was brought together. And I also learned a lot through NACTEP, the National Association of Community College Teacher Education Programs. So through going to a NACTEP conference, being invited and included for Cerritos College's location where all the STEM CTE folks someone can put in the chat maybe the actual name of that group. I got to kind of watch these wonderful models. Renee Marshall was an early mentor for me too. I went to a conference where she gave me button pins to hand out to my club students because she knew that's where I was starting. And she gave me lots of stuff as I was one of the first teachers of our education CID course. So wonderful role models, just starting to attach myself to them and to go and learn about their Los Angeles Strong Workforce Project, which we then joined in a later round. So I think it was started by my colleagues when I wasn't there yet, and I just started networking as much as I could. And then I ended up being on the board of NACTEP, now on the board of ACTEP, and attending conferences like CCTE with the university partners to kind of learn how to get a seat at the table as a community college representative and to work more closely with my colleagues. So I think it kind of was inviting myself in when I could and saying, can I watch, can I learn? And I think that was made easier by the inclusivity of everybody. That it seems statewide, right? Everyone is just so kind. So I try to pay it forward and talk about beginner programs now. So I think just invite yourself and ask lots of questions is my strategy.
Thank you, Megan.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Doug, for the question. Leah.
My question is for you, Steve, regarding your secondary certificate. So since it is specifically articulated, the courses are specifically articulated with Cal State Fullerton, how do you promote that certificate?
Yeah, so I'm promoting it with the students who are already selecting the Ed 210 course, right? They're already taking the fieldwork because they know that course is a prerequisite for Fullerton's program. So, I've been recruiting them to see if they want to expand their preparation to become a secondary teacher by actually adding the other courses in the certificate. And then moving forward, it's the same way. I mean, in our promotional materials, we're sharing that, the courses do articulate for Fullerton, and they could potentially try to get them to articulate with another university, but it gives them the opportunity to do field work, to learn about special education and to do the technology stuff, to really affirm as well their teaching choice as well. So yeah, I mean, that's a conundrum. So it's not as usable for everybody as we would want it to be, for students who are in our programs, because they have lots of choices, particularly where we are in Southern California. They could, go to many choices. And so I think, again, that's a bit of a conundrum that we don't have in our repertoire of curriculum, like the Ed 200 course that articulates that we know with all the CSUs. So I think that's a challenge that we're kind of all mitigating around. I saw that Megan actually put a course in too, the Education 130 course. You have a secondary ed course. Is that a total elective course? Have you tried to articulate that?
Yeah, when we started to propose that course, we wanted it to articulate to one at Fullerton. So Cal State Fullerton had one with more units. Then we found that wasn't enough and it didn't directly articulate because it was not matching lower division major preparation. So we decided to reduce the units and the fieldwork requirement and call it an elective very openly and say that these 2 units are something we want counselors to suggest to students to get them that early field work, but it does not articulate. And that was one of the challenges we faced, but we still wanted to go forward with the class, and we get to offer it for the first time in the fall. It's a brand new course along with our new certificates.
Thank you. Wait, did I answer your question? Leah, did we answer your question okay, appropriately? You're muted. Or I'm frozen. Okay, we'll move on. So I think there's a question in the chat from Marini related to, are you finding any recruitment strategies that are particularly effective in the virtual world? What ways have you found effective to partner with local high schools? Did that, Marini, did that question directed at a specific panelist or for all of us?
It's for anybody who'd like to answer.
Anyone want to talk about recruitment?
I found that if I invite administrators to participate at my monthly huddles or at my conference, they feel more vested to want to support. So bringing them in more often has been a big support for us. I tend to attend as many of the board meetings as I possibly can in our feeder areas to continue to be a face there. And then really work on having my students be voices. And that's something we've done in the virtual world this year that's been different because of our outreach team having less time to be able to get to high schools and see students in person. I've been creating student testimonial videos with my ed students, and they've been posting them to YouTube for us to share out to all the high school students and try to get them more excited about opportunities. So a couple of small things we've done.
That's really helpful. Thank you.
I think Steve is
For
frozen.
us?
Oh, there he's back.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is Candida Tapia at BCC. I was just going to mention that as a dual enrollment instructor, obviously I find it helpful that I can actually present to my students. But one of the other strategies that we're trying to implement right now is just recording our presentations on Zoom and sending them out to different high schools to try to recruit so that we can get more interest. Our next step is having that recording posted kind of like as a webinar on our website. And then maybe linking that to social media so that we can continue to get the word out. It is a little bit more of a challenge to do that type of recruitment right now during this time, especially because, obviously we're in this pandemic and we're all in it together. So just wanted to share that little tidbit that those are things that we've been brainstorming and trying to work on and implement here in the Bay Area.
Thank you so much.
And I'll add that I go to, or at least replicate me in all of our student success events that we have on the campus, always recruiting our teachers. We need quality teachers, even community college teachers. And so even though I'm wearing a new hat, less than a year, I still am recruiting for our teacher preparation program. So we do have partnerships with our K-12 Strong Workforce Fund. So we have a chance to present there and share information about the opportunities. And we also actually meet weekly to just, we're having a summer institute this summer to bring in more high school students, as well as those who are non-traditional and returning adults. We go to the adult schools and we're growing. It is a lot of interest out there, especially when it's free tuition and free, as well as wages. So that does help with the recruitment when the money is connected. So, no debt.
I was just gonna say that is true. I forgot about all the presentations I do at the Berkeley Adult Schools and within our existing classes. So thank you for reminding me, Dr. Chavin. That's it. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I put one of our strategies into the chat as well. So how we're using Canvas. And again, sorry for the video and the internet not being stable. So what I'd like to do now is push us into the breakout rooms, please, so that we can have some more discussions. We want to learn more about what's happening with your programs and what's really working with your programs, and then what are the challenges that you may be experiencing. And so we have 4 breakouts, 3 that will be in different Zooms that we put into the chat. The first one's related to elementary education pathways. So if you want to talk with Megan and chat with others about your elementary education pathway, what's working and what's the challenges, join that Zoom. If you're interested in talking more about special education pathways, which again is another, I think, conundrum area for community colleges, we don't really have something strong in that area, please join that Zoom. If you are interested in learning more and talking more about dual enrollment pathways and how those are working out and some of the details, please join that Zoom. And then if you're interested in learning and talking more about, not really learning, but talking more about secondary education pathways, stay in this main Zoom. And then we'll have all of the 4 Zooms will have 2 really specific questions. Like, what are some of the successes that campuses are having developing these pathways? and then what are some of the challenges and barriers. And we've created a Google Slides where we can take notes so that individuals, we can record what's happening in each of the sessions, people's feedback and people's comments, and then we'll report back out on what the discussions have. And so it is 4:10 right now. So if you, what we'll do is we will jump out of this Zoom if you're going into a different one, and then we'll return back to this one to my facilitators, maybe at about 4:40. So we'll give 30 minutes in the breakout. Does that sound like a good enough time? Yep, okay. And then so return to this one at 4:40 and we'll have some sharing. So please, if you are joining another Zoom, you can log out of this one, join the other Zoom, which will be recorded, and then pop back into this one at 4:40.
Steve, I'm going to pause the recording. You'll have to resume it, okay?
Will do, thank you. Share what's working for you and what's not working for you. So does anyone want to start with the good or anywhere?
Our dual enrollment is really helping. I'm at Golden West, Steve. Our dual enrollment is really helping build, more activity and students coming over to Golden West, and they're really excited about it. But we have to revamp our program, so that's going to take time. This summer, we're spending rewriting our program to include partial secondary, like you have found that we had a hole there too. But the other problem is, and I think you were in on this discussion, you and the gal at Santiago, that, we can't offer the upper division at high school because it doesn't transfer within 5 years to Cal State Long Beach or Cal State Fullerton. So that's also an issue we're working with, where instead of having a 200 level class over at the high school in dual enrollment, we have to have a 100 level. So I have to revamp part of that dual enrollment program to make that happen. But
yeah, that's the problem, is that we need a lower division field experience course, right? That doesn't expire. That's not a prerequisite to the credential program for all. Yeah, because that's that's a conundrum, right? Because you either offer that 200 level course to dual enrollment, and then the potential that it has a 5-year expiration date with the universities for use for the credential program.
Right. And so it can't be our capstone. I have to change that up. So now I'm rewriting Golden West program and the dual enrollment program to make it happen. So that's been a negative, but the positive is that I think it's more inclusive, right? It's going to be more inclusive for all students, and it will be helpful for them later on. That's the good part,
Right. So in terms of the I think Golden West, you also have the guided pathways, right? So you have the pathway courses.
Correct.
Have you created a pathway course for education?
Those have been created. Yeah, that's been phenomenal. Matt Valeris has been amazing at that, creating those with our counselors. So our problem is we don't have a full-time education. We don't have a dean of education. We don't have a full-time teacher of education. There's 2 adjuncts and I'm one of them. And so hopefully through some funding this summer, we'll get to create all of that and have a chance to step back from teaching to do that. And then now we can push forward. I just don't see it going through approval though until the spring. It takes time to get through the process. So we'll see.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see. But I appreciate your doctorate. I think that's great that you found a need, that's fantastic. Absolutely.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Makes it worth it. Thank you for sharing. Others successes in secondary education challenges?
Steve, we don't have a secondary certificate yet, so I'm really interested in looking into that. I'm interested in knowing who did you work with when you started that certificate? I imagine you worked with Cal State Fullerton, right? For the articulation. Well, actually, yeah. Go ahead.
The courses were already articulated. And so I just packaged them together in a way that would meet, for us, the CTE guidelines for, strong workforce, the numbers of units, and kind of packaged it around courses that I know that would help lead a student into secondary education. So, and then I took it to the advisory council, to our Orange County Advisory Council, and said, could we use this to train tutors for AVID and Think Together at secondary? And they felt that that would work. So then I got advisory board approval. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all kind of came about. And again, of all those units, the English class transfers, right? The courses that are part of their major, math, science, chemistry, Spanish, whatever that is, the 2 education courses, and then we have that elective 105 explorations course to kind of just as an elective to get them started. So yeah. Do you have any partners in does Cal State LA or any of the Cal Poly have a secondary fieldwork course?
Cal State LA is usually, our feeders, not our feeder school, but our transfer school,
Do they have a secondary ed fieldwork course that you can articulate with?
I'm not sure yet. I have to look into that. Yeah. So, but your secondary certificate, it's not STEM focused, right? It's just, okay.
I left it really broad. So like the fieldwork course is broad, the technology course is for all secondary subjects, and then they get to specify in their subject matter area if they're going to be a history teacher or a social science teacher or a Spanish teacher or a science teacher. I just picked a course that I know that students would take, like calculus, right? They're going to be a math teacher, they got to take calculus. That was included in the certificate. And then even CTE, like 9 units of CTE welding, 9 units of CTE auto, those would all count for that certificate. So I just package it together in a way that students could knit, some type of lower division experience together to really affirm that they're on the teaching pathway and would hopefully count at some point at the end of going to Fullerton.
Okay.
So Steve, how is that the field experience class different from the Ed 200? Because right now we are, Sherry created a certificate at Cuesta that includes Ed 200 and the early childhood class, because in particular, Cal Poly SLO, well, actually it's mainly the Ed 200 that counts for them, but how is the field experience different than the Ed 200 and what you offer? Do you know?
In Ed 200, it's strictly elementary. In the 210, our education 210, it's strictly middle school, high school. So that's where they deviate. And then what are they called? The California standards and all the different things are all they align a little bit differently. And so that in the secondary course, they're really going over single subject credential.
Because what we've done with people at Cuesta who want to follow a single subject path is we created the certificate so they have something, because the Ed 200 will count for them in the Cal Poly's credential program at least. And what we do is we place them in middle school and high school for their field experience, but then like the content that we cover in the course, I've actually gone away from like getting deep on standards, because you can look up standards, and going more towards teaching culturally sustaining pedagogies and understanding different ways of knowing and being and all that kind of stuff, and still doing a little bit on each subject, because we've also found that some of our students aren't sure if they want to do single or multi-subject. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out, I don't think we're big enough now to have 2 field experience classes, but I'd love to know what we could almost make 2 sections. We could have kind of within the class. I mean, you could just have slightly different readings and things like that. But
so my question to you, Rosemary, is that Ed 200 in the CID course outline of record, it says the fieldwork needs to be in elementary school settings. So if you're allowing students to do it in secondary settings, and then they end up going into a multiple subject credential program, and all it shows on their transcript that it says that they had you know, Ed 200, it's not gonna work for that student,
For
right?
secondary. Okay.
Yeah. So here's what I would think of, and here's what we had to do. The technology courses where we ran into the trouble because they have a very specific Education 204 technology course for secondary ed. I could never get more than, you know, 5 or 6 or 8 students to take that class. So we created a mirror course with a different number, and it's called Ed 205, and it's technology for elementary school teachers. It's taught concurrently, 2 separate ticket numbers, 2 different courses, but it's taught concurrently by the same teacher, and the student just enrolls. If I'm an elementary school teacher, it's the 205. If I'm a secondary, it's 204. And then the assignments are a little bit different based on the student and the teacher teaching it. And so you could do that if you could create a mirror course to Ed 200, call it Ed 201, or call it Ed 210, right? And it's the exact same thing, except for the field experience is in secondary education. And if that would still articulate with Cal Poly, then you could run it together. You could have students who are doing fieldwork in elementary and secondary in the same class, but they're just scheduled in different ticket numbers and sections.
Yeah.
And when it shows up in their transcript, it shows, you know, fieldwork for secondary education.
Yeah, and we really started doing the secondary placements spring of 2020. So everybody's is virtual anyway. And so actually it opened up a lot more variety for everyone. So I'm thinking we'll probably get a little bit of grace for whatever happened in 2020, 2021, but that's good to know, because we're getting more and more interest in that. And even my students at Cal Poly who are on teaching, you know, who are on liberal studies track, some of them came in wanting to be secondary and now have decided to go multi-subject. So it's so funky to ask them to make that decision in that first, second year, because they're all over the place.
Right.
You know? Yeah, but that's good. I think we can pull something like that off.
Yeah. Others who are having experiences with future secondary school teachers or challenges? I am taking notes.
Hello. Hi, this is Monica. I'm from Chabot College in Hayward. Hi, and actually I know Daphne a little bit. So she's been helping me and Homera to kind of like start the program and grow the program. So we're still very infant in the teacher pathway, but at the same time, we've kind of made progress, even though I think before the pandemic, we had almost just a year into it. And then the pandemic hit and everything that we had started would just kind of like fell in itself. But you know, with that in mind, but at the same time, we're just learning more of everything that you're talking about now. Makes a lot more sense than when I first came to like the regional meeting that Renee Marshall did in Sacramento like a couple years ago. That was just a lot of information, and so now like things are like making more sense. And I'm really excited that there's a secondary group here, because I feel like in almost all the meetings everything is elementary, but I'm a former high school teacher for 17 years, and so I'm not ready to let go of a high school like that, you know, and I still believe in, you know, so that's why even though I'm an adjunct, and then my dean's, you know, he wanted to start this pathway. He's like, what if you want to become a teacher? We don't have a lot at Chabot yet for that, so that's how we kind of started going. And I'm just really happy too that like people who shared today, some people started with a club and then they kind of kept going that way. So I'm like, okay, so there's not a one way, you know, place to start, because we did have a club, sort of, you know. I still have like an email system where I mail them like anything that's going on for teacher pathways. And then and so I keep getting mixed, like I want to recruit for this, but at the same time sometimes I'm like telling my dean, but where am I recruiting them to? You know, we don't have the landing class or do you know what I'm saying? So I've been really frustrated with that. Besides just having these monthly club meetings and informational meetings and stuff like that. So and especially now that I see you guys as successful programs, I'm like, we need this, you know, but so I struggle a little bit with being, I mean, we have a presence on campus. People are asking us things. People know about us a little bit more, but like, it's just like, we got a grant from a Rotary grant, like I don't know, it's very small, like 5,000, but we pitched it as a CBEST prep thing that I wanted to do. But then it's like, like we have a team too. We have like it's me, another English professor, our dean, a counselor, a trio person who's like who's overseeing a grant, right, and then also a grant person. I think I mentioned that person, and then our early childhood development person, Professor Hale. So we're all trying to, but I feel like sometimes it's hard to who does what, you know, like we don't have like different, you know, so we just kind of do our own thing and then we come in and share, but it's I don't know, sometimes I get frustrated with how, so we might, for that grant, for the CBEST, I wanted to like to offer something on our campus to have students to again give them a place on campus to do something for teacher pathways. But sometimes and we also have a consultant who's helping us with designing this pathway. But sometimes like she'll shoot down ideas and say, no, that doesn't work, or or just go to East Bay. They have CBEST prep, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I do advertise it, but like I'm still, you know what I mean? I'm still trying to get the students, like I'm still trying to get them to have something on campus. Right. So I don't know. So it's just like a little bit like we have little successes, and then sometimes I feel like it's hard to coordinate with people like, and have them really. Is that normal? Like, do you guys have like those? Yeah.
Yeah, it's difficult, particularly in the beginning. I would say, you know, it's hard because there's not one person who's dedicated, who's kind of leading it. And so it takes a lot of effort to try to coordinate the efforts. And my recommendation would be is to really focus, if you can, on trying to find the mechanism to identify the students who are on teacher pathways, whether that's easy to say, like a Google Doc that has a form where we just start collecting names. And then you can use that information to feed it into research to say, we have all these student IDs of students who are on our pathway. What programs are they in at the college? And then start identifying, oh, wow, they are lumped into specific programs that are, you know, like the majors. And then again, being able to then use the way the database to really help support students and find who they are, and then provide all the services, reach out for the services, the counseling, and all those other kinds of things, and then try to identify their specific needs, and then just be very strategic each year. Like, let's do this, let's build a course, maybe a 1-unit exploration course that you can kind of feed them all into, and, you know, try to build capacity so that, you know, you can demonstrate that you have a lot of students who need support for, you know, and funding too that can get to you as well. I see a lot, it is 4:42. We are seeing a lot of people joining the waiting room, so I think everyone's ready to come back. So I appreciate the dealing with all the frustration with the technological difficulties, but yeah, and I did take notes, and I'll report out for the group if that's okay. Thank you. Admit all. Hi, everyone, welcome back. That was strange. We had a really strange Zoom experience that I've never experienced before. Welcome back, everyone. That was, so we really had a lot of, oh, there we go. Admitting the rest of the individuals. I'm not sure if, did we get Candida and Joya back yet?
Not quite yet. Do you want me to share the presentation?
Sure. We actually had 2 simultaneous Zooms going at the same time with half people you could see and half people you could only hear, and they weren't showing up on participants. It was like the weirdest thing ever. So yeah, so let's do it really quick. Shannon, from your group, any challenges or successes you want to share really quick?
A few, because I had one lovely participant. So we ended up moving over to the elementary ed and split the time there. More challenges, I think, than successes in the SPED world. I think that most of the colleges that have courses that link to programs are all through ECE. And so we don't seem to have much headway in the EDU realm for SPED at the community college. So definitely some things to look at and really dive into in the future.
Great, thank you. Megan from the elementary group.
Yeah, so a lot of us noticed a really great strength and success in developing the interdisciplinary degree. I think my internet's having its turn. I'm going to turn my camera off and continue. But anyone can chime in if they'd like. We noticed that working with our interdisciplinary partners has been successful. We noticed that the news lately that the governors may revise to the budget is very pro-education, especially with the early years. And we really felt like there was a new attention brought through the pandemic and even a little before to education and the importance of developing quality teachers. As for field work, there was one great example of one of our teachers at a college who's part-time and teaches full-time as a third grade teacher, and her fieldwork students all go to her class. So thank you, Angela, for sharing that. How exciting. I loved teaching third grade. I was very jealous hearing that because I now want to return to my third grade position and be the fieldwork teacher. The club campus visits was something that really works well when we're in person, and our partnerships. A lot of people have these deep connections with their K-12, but we have a lot of challenges because not all high schools have these educator pathways. They're too full in their curriculum, for example, and so we can't recruit or target for dual enrollment because who do you get at, So that's, for example, one thing I know I deal with because my high schools don't have that. So we had to start with clubs. A lot of us know we need that firm institutionalization of our programs because you need people to do this work. And so that's always a barrier to having the bandwidth to do all the wonderful things you hear from colleagues. Fieldwork requirements are also strict. It's sometimes hard to place students in the field for the elementary fieldwork of 45-hour class. You often have to revise MOUs, which could be a long, lengthy process. And with virtual fieldwork, we do hope that people can adjust their MOUs if K-12 start doing more virtual kind of opportunities. And we really want to learn more to address the challenge of needing connection with the school districts, not just because of the MOUs or the placement issues, but sometimes there's staff turnover and we feel like we don't have a solid basis to continue. But overall, lots of good role models for education pathways in the elementary strand to look forward to getting more solutions from.
Great, thank you. I had a question for both you and Shannon, who use the education course as dual enrollment. Are there issues related to recency when students, because I know for our local CSU, that Ed 200 course has to be done within 5 years of them applying to the credential program, or they have to repeat it. So do you run into those issues at all if it's being offered in dual enrollment when they're in high school, and then when they're about to reach the credential program, they have to retake it at the university?
Most of my students, because our pathway is so clear, they're told that before they begin the course. So we also have a high school honor campus. So some of our dual enrollment students are actually taking the courses with me at high school. I have 4 students this semester that are graduating from high school next week, but graduating with their AA with us this week. So that tends to be a lot of our students as well. So they tend not to go beyond that deadline. I think I've had one student that ended up coming back and repeating with me in the time that I've been at the college. So
thanks. Martina, I see your hand up.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I wanted just to add what Shannon was saying about special education. There is possibility for special education in the K-12 realm if you're thinking about the special education that's offered at the community college that then translates into maybe a degree path, because there are a variety of different special education degrees, credentials beyond the early childhood credential. So the mild to moderate, et cetera. And so I know that I was hoping that Angela would speak, but I know that we're beginning to work with special education department is going to work with our TPP program coming up soon.
Great, thank you. Angela, did you want to share? Nope. Yeah, so one of the challenges I think we all experience is that there's no direct lower division preparation pathway for special ed, right? So students have to figure out how to navigate that, whether it's through a psychology or a child development or liberal studies or, whatever pathway. The state doesn't have one. So that creates, I think a lot of confusion for our students who know they want to work with students with special needs, and then they have to choose a major that really doesn't specifically prepare them. It kind of does, but we should, in my humble opinion, we should have, if we want to create more special ed teachers, we need to have undergraduate preparation that leads them into those spaces and not just cross our fingers and have them pick a pathway and figure it out. And we hope they end up in a credential program at some point in time. So I think that's a challenge our state faces. Marini.
Yeah, hi, I just wanted to add to the point about special education, because I also see that there's a need on the flip side. So our general ed teachers having a lack of special education background, because the requirements for the credential for a general ed teacher, for example, are definitely not robust enough for general ed teachers to be able to support students who may be in their classrooms, who maybe are mainstreamed or included. And so one thing that we're trying to do is trying to make sure in our child development classes that we're integrating special education support. I know that we talked in our group about special education certificates, but that again is only kind of focusing on the ECE approach. But what about our students who want to go into general education? And I can say from being being a K-12 teacher, having special education students in my classrooms, I never felt fully prepared, because it's not really a requirement in special ed in the credential program. And so I feel like we need to make sure that whatever programs, whether there are EDC classes or our child development classes, that we integrate special education, like in our curriculum classes, for example, at West LA, we have to make sure that when students are learning lesson planning, that they're, including accommodations and modifications for children with special needs. In our Child Development 30 class for infants and toddlers, there's a section on special education and IFSP. So because I teach the child development classes for special education, I really try to emphasize those pieces and remind students that even if you have students who are not diagnosed in your class, you still have to be prepared. And unfortunately, I don't feel like the California Commission really has embedded those practices yet to prepare general ed teachers to be able to proficiently support our children with special needs.
Yeah, excellent points. Excellent points. Yeah, I think so. I think there are, and just in my observation and working through this and thinking about it for a long time, the lower division, we don't give enough thought to the preparation of teachers at the undergraduate level. It's all kind of left at the graduate level for education preparation programs. And I think we are losing a lot of the advantage of having a student who knows they want to become a teacher when they enter college, and the ability to be able to scaffold the preparation in all different areas, including special education throughout their undergraduate programs, and not just waiting for them to show up at the door of a credential program, and then we're going to spend a year and kind of dump it all in and hope they're ready to become a teacher. So yeah, I agree. There's lots of areas I think where we could begin infusing, and I'm glad to hear that you're already doing that with your EDU courses at the community college. And we need to just bring that forward to the folks that make these policies, and and share our concerns and our observations in working with students who are at the beginning stages of their preparation and eager for this, for the knowledge, so they could be effective teachers. Great. In the secondary pathway, we talked a little bit about some of the conundrums, the challenges that I shared, as well as not having a specified lower division course for secondary field work. Some of us do that have specific articulation agreements, but we need to create more of those opportunities, I think, at the statewide level. We talked about the issue related to the 5-year recency and the need for maybe separating out a intro fieldwork course at all levels so students can explore early childhood, elementary, middle school, high school, special ed kind of at the very beginning, and then decide if they're going to take a specific fieldwork course for elementary, secondary, or whatever that.
Including that too within not just our coursework, but our pathways and then the program too. So I'll just piggyback off of what Steve's saying until he gets back. Is there any other comments?
Wow, that was seamless, Shannon, the way that you just jumped in right after he froze. That's awesome.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Yes, Doug.
Oh, this is a comment. It might be somewhat tangential, but I just want to say it's really been a pleasure for me to meet and hear comments from people all over California. So I know that's the purpose of a statewide group like the one we're in right now, but I just want to say I really benefited from it and appreciated hearing it. You know, the similarity, mostly similarities, but also some differences from one region of California to the other. So that's all.
Thank you, Doug. Yes, it has been wonderful to get to meet so many amazing people and see all the wonderful things going on across California for sure. And I think with all that we can continue to do, and from the work that happened just today, I think we'll be able to really expand on that opportunity and look at how we can continue to diversify our programs to support a wide variety of students, right? Steve is back. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for picking up. Yeah, I know I rambled with into the space here. So thank you for that. And we have the dual enrollment group. Any successes, challenges you want to share really briefly before we wrap things up?
We had a great, small, intimate group, and it was just the echoing of the field placement challenges as it relates to our current pandemic, biological and sociological pandemic, and what needed to happen to ensure that they were able to get high quality field placement experiences despite obstacles. And I love Sharon from Coastline College. I don't know if she wants to add in, but she has a wonderful CID 200 education course that includes the field placement. So it's not just 3 units like ours, it's 3.5 units. So the 0.5 unit challenge of allowing them to do that work at the high school level, there's some limitations as it relates to transfer credit to CSU. They don't want to count the field placement at the high school level. So we just really brainstormed some of the successes that have worked, because that it does count, but it's supporting with how to petition it, or think about some work experience, the supervised field experience class, and just the partners that are open that really do want placement. So it was just creative minds coming together. Yeah, and it's good to meet Sharon. Yay.
Yeah.
I want to just also add that I know we're also almost at close, but today was my final for my dual enrollment students for one of the high schools that we partner with locally. And I just have to say, I mean, I was so proud and emotional, like to the point of tears, but not because of sadness, but of pride. And just being like so exceptionally happy that these students are going to move forward with some sort of recognition of where they are, like some self-reflection, where they are developmentally, and the trajectory of where they want to go moving forward as an adult, as a parent, as a person in society, wherever they land on in the theories of development. And, you know, I don't have permission to share any of their finals right now. And so I won't do that. But what I will say is that there are some significant successes with the dual enrollment that we have, but there are also some significant barriers. But I believe that that's more due to the pandemic than it is to anything else at this point. And so I'll close with that. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. And yeah, it's super inspiring. So thank you for your work with that group of students. And I'm sure it sounds like they had an amazing experience in your course. And this is what we're doing. It's super, super inspirational and important that we do this work to help further this profession in so many different ways. And we appreciate your time today. A special thanks to our presenters today, our experts in the field who shared their programs and their curriculum and their knowledge with us. We're so grateful. If you are not yet a member of ACCTEP, we truly encourage you to reach out. We are expanding and want to have you as a member. So please take advantage of our buy one, get one, or our new members for free, our free trial. And then the last slide, I think, is basically a couple more. Still trying to get this last one together. I'm not sure if it'll happen in June as well, but we'll try to get something together for counseling and advising of future teachers. And yes, be a part of ACCTEP's committees. We have lots of committees that we want you to participate in as well. Next slide, please. And I think this is the end here. Join us. Thank you. If you have any questions or follow up, use our website to get in touch with us. And again, thank you so much for being a part of today and for just all the work that you do. It's been a really hard year for all of us. And I'm glad it's coming to an end, and I'm glad you're able to do this work with us, and appreciate your time together today.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.